Well, here we are again. We are live, and it's 5 o'clock on Monday, and we know what time that is, right, Justin? It's time for Sports Talk Live with Steve and Justin.
Sports
Uh,
Talk Live.
Yep, here we are. We played with a lot of things. We changed a lot of things, and yet they all stay the same. So I'd just like to say, so if you're watching us now, thank you. We are going to be on other streaming services shortly. For now, we're just on YouTube, and we're also on the Riverside site. So that's the way that's working. We moved from a Better Life New York website to here, to a YouTube site. But we thought it deserved its own, though we were going to lose some followers that come from A Better Life, my other podcast. I also thought that we needed our own dedicated way, and when I talked to Justin, he agreed. So we ended up here, and hopefully, we're going to build this this platform up just a little bit better. So what we need to say is, if you want to see our videos, you want to come to the live stream, you for now have to go to the YouTube Sports Talk Live with Steve and Justin on YouTube. If you're looking to see, hear the audio, it's going to be available when it's posted. There may be a delay of 24 hours or so, or 12 hours on all major podcast services that are going to be A Better Life. I'm sorry. They're going to be so many podcasts, so little time. That's going to be Sports Talk Live with Steve and Justin. And so that's the end of it. So, Justin, here we are on the precipice of New York sports one more time into the breach. And it's a new year and a new hope, right? And sometimes we know that only lasts maybe a couple plays.
Yeah, for the football season, it's for the football teams. It's for the baseball teams. It's coming to a grinding halt.
Yeah, that's a whole nother thing, the matter of fact, remind me when we're done, I'll read you a comment somebody left about what we said about analytics in the New York Yankees. It was very interesting because he said something he goes, "This is no longer baseball."
I agree, and it's seeping. It's found its way into football for sure.
It is, and it's finding its way. And listen, I was always anti. What do you call the franchise stupid stuff that everybody plays?
Moneyball.
No, on football where everybody would.
Automatic football, fantasy football.
Yeah, fantasy football. Fantasy football I never liked it whatsoever. It removes the heart of what makes sports in America great, and that's your loyalty to your team.
So I quit playing fantasy sports 10 years ago, and just today, a good friend of mine who runs a 16-team league, lost somebody from his league and was not begging me to come back, but he was like, "Any chance you want to join?" And I broke down after 10 years and put up my $75.
Wow.
So yeah, it'll be a goof. There's a whole bunch of guys I went to high school with in the league, so I'll give it a whirl this year for shits and giggles.
So where do you want to start, Jets or Giants?
We can start with the Giants. Um, you know, it seems that the Giants have kind of righted the ship here with personnel. We'll start with the quarterback. They've got 4 quarterbacks on the roster currently. They're obviously going to have to either make a trade or cut somebody.
Right.
So starting from the bottom up, you know, it's either going to be, they cut Tommy Cutlets or trade either Wilson or Jameis Winston. But for all intents and purposes, I think, Wilson's going to start. So it looks like Tommy Cutlets will be on the chopping block if they can't find anybody to make a deal with for him. Um, you know, ironically enough, with the Jets quarterback situation, he could end up just switching locker rooms. Um, since he's been in New York this whole time, and they might need somebody to fill out the back end of the roster pending the
Right.
injury to Tyrod Taylor. But as far as the Giants are concerned, they're going to have to make that decision. You know, I don't think they want to trade Jameis Winston. It seems like his personality has kind of permeated this locker room, and they are a completely different team, mentally right now and emotionally than they were a year ago. And it's not a knock on Daniel Jones, it's just they have changed the culture a little bit inside the locker room, on the sidelines. You can just see them having a little bit more fun.
Oh, sorry about that.
It's all right. They're having more fun. They're engaged more. They seem to be, you know, um, pushing each other to be better. And it's not it's genuine. They're rooting for one another. They want every guy to make the team.
Right.
Um, and you can see it in their play on the field. Um, Everybody's talking about it. All the talking heads are saying it's just a different vibe altogether on the sideline and in the locker room. And guys are having fun, and they're also, at the same time, they're disciplined and they're addressing some of their disciplinary issues, on the field issues, not that they had any off the field issues. And I think maybe Jameis Winston's personality kind of set that off a little bit, and him and Russell Wilson, people like these guys and they're good teammates. And, guys seem to fall in line because, you know, they have, and those two guys in particular now have, pedigree. I mean, Wilson's a Super Bowl winning quarterback. He's been to the Super Bowl multiple times. And, that resonates with guys that want to win. And it creates a culture of, you know, not only that the guys want to win, I'm sure everybody wants to win, but they understand that they can't afford to make silly mistakes. So I think it's coming from the top down, the quarterback position, and then Jackson Dart, who has played pretty well in the preseason.
Right.
Um,
I saw some
he's
passes that blew my mind, right on the money, deep.
Yeah, and he's getting lots of encouragement from the guys in that quarterback room, but also he seems to have that leadership quality that you want from your quarterback. And that's not something I think you can really teach. Either guys have it or they don't have it. But when we talked in the first episode about something that you can hang your hat on, you don't expect a rookie to lead you to the Super Bowl and turn the page overnight.
Right.
Um, so he's accomplished some of those things in that he's reading defenses pretty well. He's making line calls and line adjustments. Um, he's been extremely accurate. I know they've had a few drops. Um, Wyatt seems to be the biggest culprit that I can think of. It was pretty much on display the last game where not only was he dropping passes, but he was also reaching and touching and pushing off receivers, which they have to find a way to eliminate that from his game because I think he doesn't realize that he's fast enough to break away without having to push away. And he needs to concentrate more on catching the football and he'll be okay. But Dart, extremely accurate, making all his adjustments at the line for the most part. He sees the field, he has vision. He took off and ran a couple of times. Um, is it perfect? I'm not saying he's great. He's not, it's not, I don't think he's going to start and take over the franchise from day one, but I think they're in a very good position to lead him into that the same way they kind of led Eli Manning into that. If I had to critique him, I would say maybe his footwork could be a little better. Um, but primarily he's pretty tough. I mean, he took a few shots in the preseason where he knew he was going to get hit and he stood in there to deliver the football and took a shot. So, you know, you want to see a guy get rid of the football and not take a sack. You don't want to see your rookie quarterback getting hammered in the preseason, but he's shown a lot of stuff. He's got some moxie and he's tough. And, depending on how the Giants beginning of the season works out, I know that they still have some questions on the offensive line that has looked decent. I don't know that it's looked great. Um, they're they If they can, obviously anybody can stay healthy, they can be good, but they seem to be relatively cohesive. So if they can protect Russell Wilson, if they can run the football, move the chains and be competitive in the first 8 weeks and stay above the Mendoza line, so to speak, if they're within 2 games of 500 after 8 weeks, I think you might see Jackson Dart, start to take over if they think he's ready. If they want to go the whole season, if Russell Wilson starts hot and, he's 6-2 or whatever it is, then, that's a different discussion. But I think they'll probably play that as the season goes.
So, so what's to the rumors, if that's what they are, about Dallas reaching out trying to get Winston?
So I think Dallas is looking to have a solidified option to back up Dak Prescott. I think a lot of what they've seen on TV with his personality being infectious and positive and all that plays a part in them wanting to take that away from the Giants and also kind of instill that in their locker room.
Right.
But that is a little bit more. That's very Jerry when you think about it, because although Dak is the starter and he got paid, Jerry's like George. If you don't play well, we're going to replace you, and that's kind of a shot across the bow, I think, at the rest of the team to say we're not as good as you might think we are, and we've got to be better. And if I need to bring in another quarterback to help us better, make the team better, I think that's Jerry being Jerry. I don't know that the Giants would necessarily trade him. I don't know that they would make a deal with Dallas unless they got something worthy in return.
Like a big time defensive player?
Yeah, maybe. I mean
I don't think so.
I don't know that. Yeah, that's a reach. I cannot imagine Dallas trading Micah to the Giants for anything at this point. But if that deal isn't done, which I think it's going to get done. I mean, when you look at Myles Garrett and some other defensive players like Khalil Mack, although he did get traded, it seems to work out the longer and deeper it goes. It favors the team to keep the player. And they're running. I think they're running out of options.
I totally disagree. I don't think it gets done. I think he stays out. I think then Jerry doesn't pay him, and it becomes a huge NFL grievance between the Players Association and the league, where, I mean, I sent him for an MRI.
That's Jerry being Jerry.
Right. This is what I see. And being a labor attorney, maybe that's the way I think of it. But I think that Jerry's going to say, listen, I sent him for an MRI. He said nothing's wrong with his back. He's saying it's tweaked. He's not playing. He hasn't practiced. And what do we know with players that don't practice or come and play the first game, sign the day before? They get hurt. They pull a hamstring. They tear Achilles. Happens every time. Almost every time.
History of other players dictates it's more likely that he'll remain in Dallas. However, the Dallas history with players, the biggest one is Emmitt Smith, right? He held out. They went 0-2. Jerry hit the panic button. They paid him. They went to the Super Bowl, and it was the first time a team started the season 0-2 and went and won a Super Bowl. So Jerry's very aware of that.
He doesn't have that team yet. He doesn't have that team, and he knows it. So
yeah, they're not, at least so far, outside of CeeDee Lamb. I don't know that their talent is where it should be for what people expect from the Cowboys.
Meanwhile, if you remember correctly, though he was difficult with Emmitt Smith, he brought in Deion Sanders and gave him $35 million or something back then. So
yeah. So Jerry's not afraid to move on. We know that. I mean, you saw it with Terrell Owens. He made such a big deal about bringing him in, and then it was all of a sudden you're out. And Terrell still had a lot to play for, and he was still good. But in this case, you're talking about possibly the premier defender at his position maybe the best defender in the NFL. And if you're the Cowboys, it's like the Yankees, right? You want the best of the best. And for that to play out in a way where Micah ends up somewhere else, wherever it is, that's a disaster for the Cowboys and their fan base. That's a complete disaster. Even
Yeah.
after, signing Dak and bringing guys back under contract, you know, this is the guy you got to bring back. I think most Cowboy fans were probably okay with Dak not getting paid and going somewhere else versus losing Micah.
Well, I mean, what's funny to me is it almost seems like Jerry's realizing that his team is not going to win a Super Bowl in his lifetime.
Not the way they're constructed and not the way they're operating now. Definitely not.
And I think he's taking it out on everyone.
He's lashing out. Yeah, he doesn't want to accept responsibility for these things, and it's a cheap shot
Absolutely.
for him. It's a cheap shot for him to talk about players getting injured. That's part of the game. You can't predict that. No one wants to get hurt. No one's out there trying to hurt anybody. You know, um, it's a different game now. The players are in it together, kind of thing. They all want to succeed and make money, and I think Jerry is looking to blame someone for his own mistakes and his own shortcomings instead of leaving it
Exactly.
alone and leaving somebody in charge and just staying out of it to for the most part. He wants to be the center of attention, and let me blame somebody so we can focus on me, and I'm the star.
Well,
But
I
you know
think I think that's what I mentioned before may happen, or it's very possible that he sits out the whole year and signs a contract with someone else next year.
yeah, so I don't uh, is he is he eligible to do that without being um in other words, does he become a unrestricted free agent? I haven't.
I think it is. I think it's his last year of his contract this year.
It is. So I think there's who's it? Le'Veon Bell is probably the last player to do that. I'm trying to think if there's ever been a defensive player to sit out and not play. But there are some players out there that are not signed that are defensive players. And over the last 4 or 5 seasons, you've seen guys like Jadeveon Clowney, who I know he can't stay healthy, but the guy's a player. He's a difference maker when he's on the field. Can he play every down? Can he play all season? Different animal, but guys will sit out and
Absolutely.
come back and play for a few games if they have to, like hired guns. And Mika seems to be okay with that. I mean, his comments about not coming back, demanding to be traded. He's on his own podcast. It's kind of like it's surreal to see a player have a platform like that during the season and off season also. But we didn't have things like that before. We didn't have that growing up. Guys didn't go chirping every week, once a week on a podcast or on the radio. Maybe they got interviewed. Maybe they made a comment or here and there, and you got a soundbite. But this guy's got a platform where he's out there. Hey, you know what? I don't have to play football. I can sit out a year and go play for anybody I want, or I can stay here and be paid the highest, which I deserve. And that seems to be his stance.
And I think that's fair from his
I
point of
don't I
view.
don't think it's unfair at all. It is what it is. Um,
And Jerry's doing the Steinbrenner thing where he makes everybody else look like an idiot or an ass
yeah,
and
I
and
think we
and and,
yeah,
and says nasty things about them. Remember when
right.
Steinbrenner called Buck when he fired him? I hope him and his little family, him
Oh
and his
yeah,
little family,
yeah.
go
Called Hideki Arabu a fat toad.
yeah, I
Yeah,
mean
I mean
that's the kind of thing.
the Winfield conspiracy. I mean, it's just yeah, and there's no reason for it because we've seen now where teams get ahead of this, but just by paying these guys early. Why drag it out for two years? In 2 years, you're going to have to pay more. Pay the guy right now. And if you're afraid to do it because, well, what if he gets injured? Then you might as well pack up and go home because you can't predict that. If something tells you the guy's fragile and he can't stay healthy for whatever's in his bio, your medical team tells you, I don't know about this guy, or he's not taking care of himself. He doesn't go to workouts. He's not in the gym. He's out late at night. He's susceptible. He's not, not everybody can be Lawrence Taylor, but then all right, fine. Then trade him.
Right.
Don't lose value. Either pay him right away or trade them because there's a small window that you have to keep your team relevant and to keep the players on the field. When you lose a guy like that, it forces everybody else to have to step up their game, and then even more guys get injured,
Right.
especially if they feel like they have to compensate for somebody not being on the field, which is another whole nother wrinkle to that. So Jerry's got to stop being Jerry, which isn't going to happen. So either pay him or trade him, because if you're going to lose him after a year, that you lose. That you don't win in that at all. There's no compensation that's going to bring back what you just lost for that. At least if you trade him, you can get a haul from somebody. I mean, there's definitely teams out there that want him, and you could fleece somebody. You know, he fits in some of these scenarios. Um, he would certainly fit on the Jets. They need a player like that desperately, but I don't think they have as much capital as other teams. I don't even know if they really have cap space for that. I'm sure they do, but it's less likely than if you went to another team with more cap space and less talent and all that. But he definitely fits in certain places. He could go to Pittsburgh, you go to Jacksonville. Um, I you know if he ends up holding out for a year and then goes to the Giants or the Redskins. I mean, the Giants, this whole thing is created because the Giants didn't draft him. If the Giants had just drafted him, we wouldn't be talking about this. I mean, he'd be locked up for the next 10 years. But
Right.
this is, again, it's Jerry being Jerry. So if you're going to do something, then do it right now, because waiting
All right.
doesn't,
So
I don't think
so
waiting
here's
benefits.
here's the total cap liabilities for the Jets are 277,562,704. That gives them 25,986,198 in
That's
space.
cap space this year.
Yep,
Yeah.
2025. That's us, right?
Yeah. So
And
I
26. Let's look what they got in 26. 26. They have more. They have 45 million. But I don't know who they have to make up for and who they lose. It's not as easy to figure that out on the fly.
Yeah,
But
and they just paid two guys. If they have the cap space and they have the money, that's a deal they can't pass up. Um, es- Especially since they still don't have a quarterback, but who knows? Maybe they do. But they have to make a consideration of what they're willing to give up for it, and there's going to be a threshold. So, I'm not a big fan of trading away draft capital, um, and giving away picks. I mean,
right,
look at the team like, was it the Bears? The Bears fleeced somebody, or did they get fleeced? I'm trying to remember. The Bears
Pittsburgh.
were involved in a trade a couple of years back. They made a huge trade, but you need those draft picks, especially if you're not a team that spends money and you're just constantly bringing in
Right.
revolving door players. Um,
Denver and Wilson. Remember, they paid him all that money and they
yeah,
traded him to Pittsburgh for nothing.
yeah. I mean, then that's Sean Payton. You know, I you know I trust Sean Payton to do the right thing implicitly. He's a great coach. He's got a great mind for the
Absolutely.
game. And, it's when you see a team like that hire a coach like that and make moves like that, they have no fear. They're willing to take the loss or take a hit to
Right.
set themselves up for the future. And the reasoning is always the same. If you pay now, it will cost less later. You won't be in a jam. Whereas, and that's why I said about the Jets this
Right.
year, paying their young players Typically they don't do that. And guys end up, how many guys did we see? Abraham, Jonathan Vilma, Revis. I mean, the list goes on. Um, so it was only until they got, they brought in Parcells and all this, I know it was a different era with the cap and everything, but they were bringing guys in and building a team. Whereas it was, now it was different. They didn't have the wherewithal to make these moves without somebody like that. But now, they seem to be on a different track altogether. So
So
could they make a move for a guy like Micah? I'm sure they'll. If it's even remotely possible that he's getting traded, they'll be involved in the discussions for sure.
so I guess is your friend Brian. He just said Mac and a question mark. Um,
Uh,
yeah,
Regarding Khalil Mack, so Khalil
right,
Mack was wanted out of wherever he was in Chicago, right? And he ended up in, um, or was he in Buffalo? Why can't I remember that? That's the closest thing I could think of to a defensive player that
right.
had, a holdout and a contract dispute, and that's probably the most similar, probably more similar than Myles Garrett is to Micah Parsons.
Right. So, now that we tortured me about my team, let's torture you about yours, the Jets.
I love how you call them my team. Yeah, I think the Jets are still,
He said that was the Bears trade you were thinking of.
yes, the Bears. Um, the Jets are are
Thank you, Brian.
interesting because yeah, thank you. The Jets are interesting because of the presumable culture change. Bringing in Aaron Glenn from Detroit, where I thought he did a tremendous job as their defensive coordinator. Last year they had like 30 guys injured. I think their whole defense was out at one point,
That's right.
and they still found a way to get it done. I mean, it was really an amazing coaching job by him and that whole staff. Not to take anything away from the head coach. So, you know, now he's in this window where he's inherited somebody else's team, so to speak. He has no quarterback. Their offensive line is still yet to prove that they can play as a cohesive unit. They've got two premier running backs. Um, you know, so there's viability there. In fact, Brees Hall might, if the Jets are going to make a big trade, that might be the guy they trade. Um, a trade, involving Brees Hall and Micah Parsons, but we can come back to that. As far as their offense is concerned right now, you know, they're they still have a lot to prove. They have a lot of talent. They have no quarterback. Can Justin Fields, after all this time, get back to what made him a top draft pick and what made him successful at Ohio State? Can they stretch the field? Can he find guys downfield? Can he get rid of the football? Can they use the run to protect him and his inadequacies? And he's starting over again with another offensive coordinator. So there's a lot there that the Jets have to overcome. But they seem to have all the pieces in place right now, whereas before, even with Aaron Rodgers, I don't think they had what people thought they had. So now they have something that they can build on and move forward. And hopefully for them, Justin Fields is the guy
Right.
and they can be successful. Their defense, you know, I think their defense is going to be fine. I think this particular team is now way more accountable
Mm.
already. Um, but it's the Jets. So you have to kind of assume that they're going to be the Jets still. And Aaron Glenn has to kind of iron that out of them. He's got to find a way to bring this team together, make them believe that they can compete, and it can't be about, they can't come out and say, "Oh, I win a Super Bowl. We got to win a Super Bowl." Yeah, everybody wants to win a Super Bowl. How are you going to get better right now? What's the first step? And I think that solidifying the culture and making these guys accountable is paramount, because there was just no accountability on this team for the last 4 or 5 years. It's probably longer than that. I mean, it goes back a long way. I mean, when Rex was there, Rex was accountable. And Rex, what I loved about him was he took the pressure off the team from the media. He took the media head on, and it was like a secondary thing for the team to have to worry about. There really was no. He let the players be the players. You had guys in their locker room that were leaders, and um, he deflected a lot of what the media tortures players with and about by being Rex. And they loved him because of his personality. They loved coming to play. They loved being in the locker room. They loved going out to fight. Were they sloppy? Yeah, they were a little sloppy. Could they have been more accountable in certain areas? Yes. You know, Rex's booming voice and his personality kind of deflected a lot of that and hid some of that. But that was really the last time that they were cohesive enough to compete. So now I think that you don't have that big personality on the sideline. You've got Aaron Glenn, who's, a Parcells disciple. Maybe we're
and
going to see a complete
and
change.
and respected by everyone he comes in
Yes,
contact with.
absolutely. And he is not, you know, he's not somebody that just got this job for the sake of let's hire this guy. He deserves it. He earned it.
Right.
And he's got players believing in him. And, it only sometimes it takes one thing to happen, a big victory, which could come off a small play or something where he taught that to them. This is what I told you we were going to look for. I told you this is the way it's going to play out. And then they start to really believe, and then you can move forward. So he's got all that in front of him, not to sound like Aaron Boone, but it's all there for them to put together.
Right.
And I think he's the right guy.
And we got to hope that Donald Trump makes the owner ambassador to Bulgaria or something,
Oh, that would be, yeah, get him out of here. Do us a favor.
like he did last time, right?
Yeah. We're gonna send you overseas. We'll see you in 18 months. That would be a huge help, I think, for sure. Because Woody likes to meddle. I got that firsthand. He'll walk into a coach's room and look over your shoulder and see what are you doing there? And you have to answer to this guy. He's a billionaire. He owns the team. And if he says, "Oh, I like when we blitz. You've got to have a blitz package ready to go because that's what the owner wants." And sometimes it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work out for the Jets anyway. So they've got to find a way to keep him out of the coach's hair and just go in your booth and go sit with, Trump and whoever else, and have a couple of cocktail shrimp and, off
Cock-
you go. What?
Cocktail shrimp. So I wanted to, since you brought up Aaron Boone, I wanted to just touch base with you on the if I could find it, on the comment that was left, but I can't seem to really find it at the moment. So
The analytics comment?
yeah. So and I wanted to credit who made it, but I am not signed into that spot at the moment. So we're gonna have to let that go. And I promise when it comes to comments we'll address it next time. I did write an answer to it. So forgive me. So next week we'll talk about your comments because we're gonna go back to analytics a lot in the coming days.
Yeah, it's prevalent. You know, the rule changes that they're making this year are metrics driven. Um, and I think there's a little window dressing in Troy Vincent's video about making it competitive and every snap matters. I think they go way too far in trying to micromanage the game. Let the players play. if kickoff was somehow undesirable before, and you hear all these mixed comments coming out of the NFL. Well, it's we're trying to make the game safer. Are kickoffs not safe? Oh, we didn't say that. Well, then why are you changing it? Well, we want more scoring. Are we not scoring enough points? Well, we didn't say that. They're changing things for the sake of changing things because they think somehow they're going to make, $3 or $4 more per broadcast. And I don't I don't like change. I'll admit it. I don't like change. I was never really a fan of kickoffs. I know in the video, Troy Vincent, they're talking and they say that it's can be the most exciting play in the game. But that's it's because the scoring on that play is like 8 or 10, whatever the percentages. It's only exciting when they score, right? Like it's exciting when there's a surprise onside kick in the Super Bowl and the Saints recover, and that's the difference in the game. That's coaching. So it's not the play, it's the coaching. Let the coaches coach. Stop trying to micromanage how they play this game and just let them play. So, if anything, if you want it to be safer, just eliminate the kickoff. I've been calling for that for years. Eliminate the kickoff, give the home team, or usually what happens in the coin flip is the toss is deferred because you want the ball coming out in the second half.
Right.
It's way more in favor of that than taking the ball, depending on other things, weather condition, et cetera, et cetera. So just give the away team the ball to start the game so the home team can come out to start the second half. Eliminate the kickoff. When the play's over and they kick the extra point, put the ball at the 25-yard line. I think that's a fair compromise. This idea of putting it at the 35, you're giving them two plays and they're in scoring position.
Let's just take a minute, and thanks to the NFL, they did a little video about rules changes and why they are. The vice president, one of the chief vice presidents of the NFL, talks a little bit in the video, and it's hard for us to explain the rule changes, and I thought we better take them firsthand. So the first rule change is entirely about kickoffs. So let me just play this, and we can talk about it as we go along. If you want me to pause it, just let me know. And it's really what they're calling free kicks.
That's one of the most exciting plays, if not the most exciting play in the game of football.
They're showing us a great jet return just to add insult to injury.
He's at the 40, gets a block, at the 20, at the 10, 5, touchdown!
When we had the one-year-only rule of the dynamic kickoff, we saw 332 competitive plays.
So
59 plays
it would seem, if you watch the whole video, and I know you have,
flipping the field,
that they're talking about
encourage their return. We
making every play
that is
count,
dynamic,
that almost make the ability for the game to change.
With the 2025 season, the dynamic kickoff rule becomes permanent with a few revisions. First,
to me, it's just micromanaging.
Now go
and
to
you're saying that the other plays don't matter.
Previously,
or that the kickoff doesn't matter. But I still think it comes down to coaching.
Well, they changed the kickoff to save concussions. That's what they threw. So then they made it come out so everybody was able to kick it out of the end zone, so they got a kneel down. Now they don't want kneel downs. They want the kickoff back. And instead of putting it back, because they would have to say, oh, no, it's safe now, because they said it wasn't safe before.
If I'm a coach, I'm going to take a knee. We get the ball to 35 to start every drive. Take a fucking knee. I'll take that anytime.
But what's going to happen now is that 35, wow, 2 plays and you're in maybe less.
Position.
I mean, guy hit 70-yard field goal the other day, right?
Yeah.
All right. So all you have to do is take a knee and kick, and you could do that all day, right? So
at 35, you're 75 yards away from the goalpost. You're 65 yards away from scoring.
So
that's a short field.
But I think so. They move it out to the 35. They're forcing the kickers to kick, or forcing the coaches to kick to the 5-yard line now, because you got to figure that they're not going to make it to the 35 if there's pressure. But the pressure is like, it's like the fly ball rule. You have to stay on the 35 line. You have to have your toe on the line, and you can't run until the guy catches the ball.
And they're calling it a free kick, which before, free kick was defined. I don't remember free kicks being off the tee.
Never. They were drop.
Right.
They were drop kicks.
Drop kicks. So, it's only a matter of time before you find somebody that can kick a moonshot, high enough that the coverage team can get down there and bury the returner before he has a chance to go anywhere.
But they can't run till he catches the ball. Hold on. Watch it play out.
The other changes are for onside kicks. The rule was that they were only allowed in the fourth quarter, but now a team that is trailing at any point in the game may attempt an onside kick. They still have to declare this option. Also beginning in 2025, all kicking team players other than the kicker must line up with their front foot on the 35-yard line, and both feet must remain on the ground until the ball is kicked.
So, I'm sorry. Right.
If they can't move until he touches the ball.
No, until it's kicked.
Until it's kicked. Okay. So, this guy, I'm sure these guys are talented enough to kick the ball straight up in the air and still kick it 50 or 60 yards, and it remains in play. And, I don't know how this fits to what they're trying to sell us about it being safer, and we're adding scoring, and it's more exciting, and we're trying to make the plays more competitive. People want to see big hits. That's what makes kickoffs exciting, when somebody gets knocked the hell, or if somebody breaks one for a touchdown. It's exciting. Yeah, and it doesn't happen very often, and that's why it is so exciting. So if it was about safety from Jump Street, just eliminate the kickoff. Why are we going through this whole rigmarole of micromanaging what they're doing? There's no need for it.
Because there's no going back. They said one things, they made decisions, now they're going forward. The other thing was interesting is about, and I
and the players seem to just not. There seems to be no one's in charge of discussing this with the players. They're just yeah, we'll do whatever you say, and no one's talking about it.
And I don't think it was the rules committee. I think it was the competition committee. I think they say that originally added this back in. They wanted more dynamic,
and they only had it for 1 year. They had it for 1 year.
Right.
They made more rule changes to it, and they cemented it in. This is the way we're going to go now.
So let's talk about the onside kick. What they said after, it's got to be 1 year, maybe 2, that they limited the onside kick till the end of the game. I don't know why they did that, but they did it.
So I think they did that to give themselves more, a bigger sample size of kickoffs.
So maybe, but now they're saying it's onside kicks are up at 8% of the time. Now we want
to get it to 12%.
We want to get it to 12%. So we're going to
successful onside kick.
We're going to let you do it all the time. Anytime you want, you're kicking off. You want to do it, go ahead.
So,
and I like the strategy of that, because we have maniac coaches that are going to practice that every day.
Yeah.
And they're going to steal a game from someone.
Funny you said that, because when I was coaching, I mentioned to my head coach, what if we just eliminate the kickoff from the game completely? This was years ago. And he looked at me and he said, it'll never happen, but it's 1/3 of the game I don't have to coach anymore. He was like, I'd love it. I don't have to coach it. And he's a good coach, smart guy. And, like I said, these rule changes, let the coaches coach, let the players play. Why are we micromanaging this?
Well, that's interesting you say that, because let's look at the overtime rule, and I think that's exactly what they say in this rule, because to me, it's like, oh, let the players play another quarter? Who cares? But let's let the
On
audience
top
hear
of
it out.
17 games.
Yeah.
New in 2025, the overtime rule is now essentially the same in both the regular season and the postseason. In all overtime games, the defensive team gets the opportunity to possess the ball, even if the original offensive team scores a touchdown. Overtime in the regular season is still limited to 10 minutes. Beginning in 2025, replay assist has been expanded.
Oh, we went a little farther. So we'll go to replay assist in a minute. I forgot about
Yeah.
that rule change. So overtime now, it seems like if both teams score, and correct me if I'm wrong, both teams score a touchdown, they continue to play. And then after 10 minutes, it's over. And maybe in the playoffs it isn't,
Yeah.
but certainly in regular season. So now we're going to have ties. When we hated ties and we changed the rules so we wouldn't have ties, now we're going to have ties again.
Well, you're going to have, what's going to happen is you're going to have, aggressive coaches that go for two when they score to put the pressure on the other team to score a touchdown and go for two. That's like riverboat gambling. So, regular season football to me just ended in a tie, because you know what's going to happen? If they know that the game is going to end in a tie, one of those teams has got to have a coach to know, hey, you know what? We can't play for a tie. We have to go for two here. Or we should kick a field goal here instead of kneeling on the ball, whatever it is. So I let the coaches coach.
So
the only reason this overtime ridiculousness happened is because of when the Chargers beat the Colts and Peyton Manning never touched the ball. Okay? The Chargers were a better team. It's that simple. They should have beat the Patriots twice. The guy got tackled and spiked the ball, and the way they lost was incredulous. But they were the better team. The better team won. If you want to change anything, the team that is hosting the game, give the home team the ball to start overtime and sudden death that. Why is that so bad? I don't know why that's so bad.
So what are they doing? They're, in essence, by changing this rule, pushing out the end of the game 10 minutes. When they can accomplish what they need to do, following your way of looking at it, at the end of the regular season, regular time.
In fact, regular season, I don't even think they should have overtime.
I agree. I think you're just going to kill a player. So what's going to happen? What's going to happen?
Someone's going to get hurt.
But Monday Night Football, you're going to play Sunday night. You're going to have a game on Thursday. They're all going to go to overtime, and everybody's going to be dragging. You're going to have to fly across the country. Come on. Everything, it's Murphy's Law. Everything that will happen, everything that could happen will happen, and it'll happen.
I'm willing to bet that if they just eliminated overtime, you would have a handful of coaches that are not going to settle for a tie. And there are going to be teams that are fighting for that tie. That, in and of itself, is exciting enough to keep you glued to the TV.
Okay.
You may not like the result if it ends up in a tie, but what's the difference? What are we missing? Fantasy points? Are we the game ended in a tie. That's it. It's over.
All right, let's go to the next rule.
To 10 minutes. Beginning in 2025, replay assist has been expanded. When a flag is thrown for face mask, horse collar, tripping, or hits to the head, those penalty flags can be picked up if the replay official has clear and obvious video evidence that no illegal contact was made. While these fouls are subject to replay assist, they are not reviewable and cannot be challenged.
So what we're saying is basically, the refs have gotten too much wrong this year, so we're going to add in somebody with a television.
Yeah, and to me, the most glaring part of this is the gambling, right? I mean,
Right.
there's a lot of money on these games now. So no, you can't review it. You can't challenge it. We'll decide if it was the right call or not. Tell me that doesn't sound rigged.
Yeah.
I mean, and we've already seen instances where
Where
they
could,
review something and they still get it wrong.
mind you, where they could have done this, what could they have done? They could have just gave the coaches another challenge, or just expanded this to challenges and let the same process. Now it almost seems like, and it does seem like, that the replay official can intervene at any time he wants to change the game.
And change the game. And in theory, when you say, well, we just want to get the call right,
Right.
and it's not a stoppage of play, and there's a review, and you 2 minutes and it's dragging on. Okay, it's sometimes you see it right away when you're watching the game. That wasn't a face mask, or that was a whatever it is. You could see it right away, and it's quick. So maybe I'll give some credence to that part of it, that it's quick and it happens, and we don't have to stop play, and it just I got the call. Wait, no, we're going back to here. Okay, second down. I just it just, because of the gambling, it's just so blatantly obvious to me that this is going to be a problem. And, you're going to have more YouTubers and more Instagrammers breaking down these videos and finding, Patrick Mahomes, they touched him. Oh, penalty. Oh, wait a minute. We got to call that one back. Oh, you didn't throw a flag there.
And I
that's where
think
it's headed.
more pressure comes on the officials.
No doubt about it.
But in stadiums where the owners have a large piece of the gambling houses. So now you're getting pressure not only from the players and the coaches, but maybe from the owners right to the umpires and officials about gambling. It's really a problem. They've really let it get out of control.
It's a very bad optic. And where there's smoke, there's fire. So the minute somebody gets this wrong, it's going to get blown up, and they're going to have to answer for that. And there's, how do you say, well, we got the call wrong? You forced this into the rule changes. You implemented this. And if you get it wrong, what's the recourse? There's no recourse.
Right.
So the minute we have a penalty that leads to a field goal that hits an over, or covers the spread, or whatever, all of a sudden it's going to be, if the outcome of games is changed, the win-loss is really what matters. I really don't care about gamblers. It's degeneracy anyway, but the NFL is feeding into it, and they've now opened the door for this to be questioned. Their integrity is in question now.
So the last is also an interesting one. I don't think I put it in any video, but it is sportsmanship. So that is really it. It's really sportsmanship. And what the sportsmanship is basically is that we all know that taunting and things go to sportsmanship. Those penalties are going to be watched at a closer rate. But addition, people making even nowhere near the play, making what is being termed as violent gestures, guns, anything to do with guns is going to be a penalty.
How are they going to decipher gang signs too?
Everything's going to be, it's
all there.
It's going to be a mystery.
And again, the gambling is a huge specter lurking right now, because this is one of those things where, again, let the coaches coach. If you've got a bunch of undisciplined idiots hooting and hollering, and they're shooting, doing this and gesturing, whatever and I don't care. You don't have to put it on camera. You don't have to focus on that. You can just say,
but I don't want them taunting, tackle a quarterback, knock his head off, and then taunt him. I don't want that.
No. I mean, I understand that part, but again, where does the policing stop? Because again, it's discipline. If your players aren't disciplined enough, that's on you as the coach. Because if penalty's a penalty, so they want to. You're taking you can't do finger guns. You can't do bow and arrow. You can't do whatever.
So, but here it comes. So what is the NFL saying here? And I don't want to sound like a lawyer, but I'll say with the court, or sometimes I say, what is the court really saying here? What is the league really saying here? Do you know what a penalty is? Whatever we say it is.
Whatever we say it is. Right.
And that is the bottom line. Every step is more to the league has total discretion about what they're going to call and what they're not going to call.
What happens in, 2, 3 years, 5 years down the road when they investigate some NFL referee who had huge gambling debts tied to the mob or whatever, and he was calling penalties for taunting on the sidelines of a guy who's a third string kicker having a drink of water and pouring it on his head. Oh, a penalty, right? Like, you're setting yourself up for failure. It's like Pandora's box.
Well, the NFL has a security team that is second to none. FBI, Secret Service. I mean, I don't think they have any CIA, but that would be interesting if they did.
That's a podcast for another time.
But they really have an amazing security force, and I think it's going to get larger over time because they're going to be this thing with the referees. It's just going to be out of control. You're never going to know who's making the decision. Where it was the umpire on the field got all the info and made the decision. We're hoping that it stays that way.
You're gonna have coaches and players pointing at players on the field. Look what he's doing. Look what he's doing. It's just going to become like Little League. Just let them play and ignore it. And if they get a delay of game penalty for being a moron, tack on the 5 yards and just keep going. Why are we stopping the game for even more ridiculous stuff? Oh, finger guns. Okay, Johnny Manziel with the cash. His Italian hand gesture. Can't do it.
You see,
is
guys,
that going to be offensive?
You still see guys do this all the time, and it's the stupidest thing I ever saw.
This is the same league that allowed Ndamukong Suh to continue playing after he stomped on Ricky Williams and broke his arm after a play, right? Like, where was the discipline there? That's okay. Now, well, we suspend him for one game or we fined him. This guy's broke his arm. Can't play.
No, he was he made Conrad Dobler look like a walk in the park.
At least in like hockey, right? Hockey has the intentional penalty where if you knock somebody out of a game with an illegal intentional hit and he's got to stay out for an extended period of time, that player's out also. Is that right? Hockey's got that. I don't like taunting. I don't condone it. It's like, bat flipping in baseball. Just drop the bat and run, man. Just you hit the home run, just go. Right? You're losing 10-4. Keep going. And to police it gives it credence. To police it means it has no bearing on the game whatsoever. All right. Somebody's feelings got hurt. You didn't like it. Maybe your team was getting the snot knocked out of them, and this guy made a taunting at the quarterback, and now you want to play. Well, you should have been playing that way the whole game. You could go back and forth on both sides, I think, but to police it and add it to the arsenal of the umpires and referees to throw another flag, give them another reason to more authority over the players on something that is not even a football play. I'm sorry, I don't like the rule.
And I think that's it. I think we'll leave it right there. It's been a great conversation again, walking into football.
As always, my friend. Thank you.
So next week is next week Labor Day? Well, we'll have to see what day we're on. But
it's Monday's Labor Day.
All right. So I don't know. We'll advertise when we're going to do this, being Labor Day. Maybe we'll skip a week and come in the 7th. And
it's up to you. I'm in either way.
Okay. So we'll move it to Tuesday. We'll see.
I have my fantasy draft at 9:15 that night, so we can talk about that if you want. Before I head in,
I hate fantasy football, and I apologize. So.
Don't apologize. I get it.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you for listening. And just one more time, audio is going to be available on the podcast, Sports Live with Steve and Justin. Sports Talk Live with Stephen Justin, or is it Sports Live with Stephen Justin? I don't know. It's one of those. Go on YouTube, subscribe, like it. You'll be able to watch the live broadcasts when they come out, and also their archive there. You can watch it anytime. It'll also be available on audio on all the major podcasting audio services, Apple, Spotify. Those are the big ones. So thank you again. Thank you, Justin.
Thank you for having me, Steve.
Always a pleasure. And we'll talk to you all soon. Thank you.
Take care.